Hello and welcome to Mighty Rooks. This is Amar, and in this video I will be showing you how to checkmate your opponent's king with the help of your rook and a king. So you are only left with the rook on the board with your king, and you have to checkmate your opponent's king who doesn't have any other piece on the board left. So how the process is, basically you have to remember one thing, that you have only 50 moves to deliver the checkmate to your opponent's king. As you can see on the board, the black king is standing on d5 and white player has his rook on g8, and white player has to deliver the checkmate and has to make sure that he gets full 1 point. Now imagine a situation where you have very less time left on your clock and you have to still deliver a checkmate to obtain 1 full point. It is a little tricky, and you have to make sure that the process is really fast. So you have to be pretty much sure about what exactly your plan is. It is seen at the beginner level players that they keep checking the opponent's king, and then they find it little difficult to achieve the checkmate. So key here is to not keep checking the opponent's king, but to improve your rook's position. By that, what I meant exactly is you have to gain space on the board and make sure that the king is driven to the corner or the edge of the board. So remember one thing, that the king on d5 can't be checkmated if he's still there in one of these. He can't be checkmated in center. So the black player will try to maintain his king's position in the center, but that's exactly what white shouldn't be allowing him to do. So what white player should do exactly over here is to get this king somewhere in these files, either in A or in the 8th rank or in the H file or in the 1st rank. So this king has to go to one of the edges of the board, and that's exactly when white player can deliver a checkmate. Let's see how this process is. So first let's assume it's black's move and black keeps his king on d4 to make sure that he's still there pretty much in the center and not going to the corner on his own. So what white player should do over here is he can either put the rook on e8 or g5. Both moves are pretty much okay, because what they exactly do is, let's assume white plays rook to e8. Now this rook creates a wall, and this rook doesn't allow this king to escape from the e file. So this king now, all he has is this side of the board. He can't really go to that part of the board, and this rook is doing that important role of keeping the king closed from E, F, G, H file. So king can't really go in those files. Now it's pretty much certain for the white player that he is going to take this king to either this corner or this corner, because now the black king can't really access this half of the board, which is called the king side. So let's see what black can do. Black will play something like king d5. Remember, he will not on his own go to the corner. If he goes, let's assume the king goes somewhere here, it's better for white, because he will cut him in further and the rook will simply take the d file as well. So black on his own, he will not try to go to the corners of the board, because he knows what exactly white want from this position. So let's assume what black does over there is he plays something like king to d5 to make sure that he's in the center. Now this rook can improve its position by coming to e6. By coming to e6, what exactly does this rook do is he controls the 6th rank and he controls the e file. So all black king has is this small box on the board. Now the white player has to make sure that he makes this box shorter and shorter for the king and make this king go somewhere over here. So let's see how the process is. Now let's assume black plays king to d4 again to make sure that he is in the center. Now white player ideally would want his rook to come here and cut the box shorter for that king. But right now he is not really supported and he can't really do that. He can't improve his rook's position anymore. So at that point of time, when you can't improve your rook's position with respect to gaining more space, you have to move your king. The king comes to f6, and then the rook can really come to the 5th rank on the next move. The black will not again go to the corners, he will try to be in the center. Again, the rook can't do any better if it's moved anywhere else along this file. So white player should remember that whenever the rook can't improve its position, you should move your king. So king f5 is the better move. Now if the king comes to d4, the rook can improve its position with rook to e5. And once this rook comes to e5, the black player doesn't have access to the 5th rank and e file anymore. So this square has been taken, this square has been taken. So all black king has is these 3 squares where he is approaching to the corner, if you can see. So black has no choice but to get out of the center, and if he plays king to c4, now again white player would like his rook to come here so that the box is shorter and the king has very less space left. But this rook again is not supported. So white really cannot improve his rook's position with respect to gaining more space. He will move his king to e4. And now again, if you can see, the king has to go behind. He has to go backwards. He can't really come forward and he can't approach the center. He has to go towards the edge of the board. And let's assume if the king goes to c3, now we can have our rook coming to the d file and controlling the d and the 5th. So white will happily play rook to d5. The king will again go to the c4 because he is not ready to go to the center, to the corner of the board. He'll try to remain in the center in order to make the process difficult for the white player. Now again, if the rook can't improve its position, we should move our king. So king will just keep supporting the rook, and the rook will remain at the position where it is, and it will just make these walls for the king and get the king inside this small box. The box will be shorter eventually, as we can see. The king will go to c3. The rook will come on d4, and it will start controlling these squares, and the box is shorter for the black king. And now the black king has to go somewhere near the corner, and we are almost achieving where we want the black king to be. And let's assume black plays king to b3. We want ideally our rook to come here, but we can't improve our rook's position, so we'll have to make a support for that rook to be there, and the king will move to d5. Now king c3. Again, if the rook is played to c4 now, we are just breaking this wall. The king can escape from this. So we don't want that thing to happen. We have made it very sure that this rook controls the d file and it doesn't allow the black king to cross this particular line. So we'll just improve our king's position with king c5. Now if the king goes to b3, now the rook can easily come to c4 and cut the box shorter for the king. Now the king has no choice but to approach the corner, and then simply, if we can't put our rook to shorten the square, the box for the black king, we should improve our king's position, and the king will go to b4, and then this king has no choice because it can't really move to these squares, so it has to go to one of these, and it simply goes somewhere like king to a2, and the rook will again do the same thing with him, because now actually it's not required for the rook to come here, because rook can really come to c2. I think that's a better way, because now the king is holding these two, the rook is holding this one, so all black king has is this and this, where a1 and b1, and in both cases is not going to get any better, because he's already approached the corner and checkmate is just above his head. So king goes to b1, let's assume it's attacking the rook. We'll simply support the rook with our king coming to b3 and taking these two squares from this king, and just making sure that he has only one square to go to, and exactly when the rook will deliver the checkmate, and king has no other option but to forcefully go to a1, and then the rook will simply come to c1, and now it is a checkmate. And this king cannot really escape from the second rank, because the king on b3 is holding on to these, and the rook is attacking the king on a1. So this exactly is the procedure, and you have to remember that the rook and a king is enough of a material to get the opponent's king checkmated. So you have to remember that giving checks continuously is not something that will help you achieving your goal. You have to make sure that you gain more and more space with the help of your rook and the king, and drive your opponent's king to one of the edges in the corner of the board. So that's exactly how the process is, and you can open up your own boards and try to set up a position and try to finish the opponent's king the way we showed in this video. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something out of it and better your chess skills. Good luck with your chess. Thank you.